7 o'clock. So we will read
Hare
some
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. So yesterday I wasn't there, I'll just read the translation for till what verses we covered. Do we know?
Mm, I think we covered three verses.
Three verses. So 24, 25, 26. So I'll just read the translation. So this is Prithu Maharaj speaking to Lord Vishnu. He's asking for benedictions. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. So Sayujya Mukti is not desired by him because there is no opportunity to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. I want the benediction of at least 1 million years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. So I think the verse was quoted Tunde Tandavani Ratim Tanute Tundavali Labdaye. I want Rupa Goswami also says. So one thing is that there is consistency amongst all the pure devotees. They are all asking for the same kind of benediction. So they are all feeling the same way and they are asking for the same kind of benediction. There is consistency. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibrations from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. So this is like a poetic description. So when the vibration spoken by the pure devotees about Krishna enter the heart of the conditioned soul, then the conditioned soul actually remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. So their value system changes, or they come to know what is most valuable in my life, and that is Krishna consciousness. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. So even Prahlad Maharaj says, give me the association of your devotees. My dear highly glorified Lord, if one in the association of pure devotees hears even once the glories of your activities, he does not, unless he is nothing but an animal, give up the association of devotees, for no intelligent person would be so careless as to leave their association. So after getting a great fortune, then one leaves it, then it's considered very unfortunate. The perfection of chanting and hearing about your glories was accepted even by the goddess of fortune who desired to hear of your unlimited activities and transcendental glories. Sometimes they say those who don't come to Krishna consciousness are unfortunate. But those who come to Krishna consciousness and then they leave, they are most unfortunate. Of course, we know whatever they have done in Krishna consciousness is their permanent asset. Niha vikrama nasusti pratyavayana vidyate. Salpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahatu bhayat. Krishna says, this endeavor, there is no loss. But still, like that, you got a great fortune and then Bhagavatam says we are doing Atmaha. After getting human form of life and having everything, then we don't perfect our life, we are doing suicide. Okay, so now this verse 27, we'll read a little bit. अथा भजे त्वाखिल पुरुषोत्तमं गुणालयं पद्मकरेव लालसा अप्यवयोर एकपति स्पृदो कलिर न स्यात् कृता त्वच्चरणायका तानयो. So Prithu Maharaj is saying, what is his conclusion? He wants the association of pure devotees. So now he's saying, now I wish to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to serve just like the goddess of fortune, who carries a lotus flower in her hand. Because his lordship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. So he wants to engage in service like Lakshmi Devi, in service of the lotus feet. I am afraid that the goddess of fortune and I would quarrel because both of us would be attentively engaged in the same service. So he's saying maybe there'll be some quarrel with Lakshmi Devi because she will say, no, I want to massage the feet like this, and Prithu Maharaj would say, I want to massage the feet like that. Maybe there'll be some disagreement. If you are not doing the same service, then there is less interaction. But when you are doing the same service, then then there is more interaction, and more interaction means there is a likelihood for quarrel. Right? In this material world, in Kali Yuga, like that's what happens. For small things, quarrel starts. Of course, Prithu Maharaj is in which yuga? He's not in Kali Yuga. Right? So, but he's afraid of quarrel. Let's see what Prabhupada would say in this purport. The Lord is here addressed as Akhila Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the entire creation. That is why sometimes they make God impersonal, because if there is no personality, then there is no chance of quarrel. When there are two persons, there is chance of quarrel. So when we go back to the spiritual world, there are so many devotees. So will there be quarrel? So sometimes people think like, yeah, better to make God impersonal. Then from my side, I can do whatever I like, and God will accept it because He's not judging or He's not desiring anything. He's impersonal. So it's better to make God impersonal because relationship is the cause of all troubles. Buddha said like that. Desire is the root cause of all unhappiness. That's why we should give up desires. But Prabhupada would say that we are not dead stone, that we can give up desires. So the Lord is here addressed as Akhila Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the entire creation. Akhila means, I think, present everywhere. Akhila. Purusha means the enjoyer, and Uttama means the best. So he's the best Purusha or the enjoyer. There are different kinds of Purushas or enjoyers within the universe. Actually, only Krishna is the enjoyer, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam. But we all also wanted to enjoy. So Krishna gave us this facility of the material world. Um, but our goal of life is to enjoy. So Prabhupada said like that, goal of life is to enjoy. So we can enjoy by giving pleasure to Krishna, even more than what Krishna enjoys in us giving him pleasure. So generally they can be divided into three classes: those who are conditioned, those who are liberated, and those who are eternal. Of course, everybody is eternal. So in the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is called the Supreme Eternal of all eternals, Nityo Nityanam. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternal. The Supreme Eternals are the Vishnu Tattva or Lord Vishnu and his expansions. So Nitya refers to the personality of Godhead, beginning from Krishna to Mahavishnu, Narayan, and other expansions of Lord Krishna. What is this verse? Nityo Nityanam. Nityo Nityanam.
Chetna
Chetanam.
Chetnaham Eko Bahunam Yovidadate Kamam.
Means, what is the meaning of the verse?
Out of all the eternals, there is one eternal who is maintaining the others.
Who is fulfilling kama? Kama means desires. Who is fulfilling the desires of all other living entities or maintaining? Yeah, that is also eko bahunam. That one eka is bahunam. All the other living entities. The example is given is that like father traditionally is the head of the family, and he provides for the food on the table for everybody, all the family members. So in the same way, we are all the children and Krishna is the father and he's providing for everybody's needs. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kama. Dadati means to give. Vidadhati. He is giving us what we need by fulfilling our desires. Like we say, one reason that God exists is because for every urge there is there is what?
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment of the urge. That is one reason they say God exists. Because we have needs and the needs are provided for by Krishna. It could very well be that we have a need and we don't have fulfillment of the need. But Krishna has carefully made this world that for all our needs, there is a certain kind of situation or a body or arrangement to satisfy our need. Like the child is born, right? So he can't eat any grains. So there is mother has milk to feed the child. Now, who made this arrangement? We may say it's the body, but well, who designed the body like that? So, so otherwise the child would not be able to eat anything, right? After till until 6 months or something like that, he cannot eat any grains. Or if you feed grains, then he will die or something. He will not be able to digest. So there is arrangement in nature. The cow is eating banana peel, which humans cannot eat, and all the skin of the vegetables, and it is providing milk, and we can consume milk. So this is a symbiotic arrangement in nature. Like the plants are giving out carbon oxygen, they are taking in carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen. We are taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. So like that, it's an arrangement. It's a mutual arrangement. So both the Supreme Personality of God and the living entities are eternal. The Supreme Eternals are the Vishnu Tattva or Lord Vishnu and his expansion. So Nitya refers to the personality of Godhead, beginning from Krishna to Mahavishnu, Narayan, and the other expansions of Lord Krishna. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murti Shu, there are millions and trillions of expansions of Lord Vishnu as Rama, Narsimha, Varaha, and other incarnations. All of them are called eternals. Ramadi Murti Shu, Kala Niyamena Tishtan, नानावतारमकरोत् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्ण कृष्ण स्वयं समभवत् परमपुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. So Krishna has many forms. Nana Avtaram. The word Mukta refers to the living entities who never come within this material world. So there are intelligent souls who never misuse their free will. They are called Nitya Muktas. The Baddhas are those living entities who are eternally, almost eternally living within this material world. So we are Nitya Baddhas because it has been a very, very long time that we have been in this material world. So that's why we are called Nitya Baddhas, eternally. Just like the demigods are called Amar. Sometimes they're called Amar. Amar means they don't die because they live such a long time. That's why they are called as Amar. But they die. Similarly, we are not eternally conditioned because we were with Krishna in the spiritual world, if we take that viewpoint. But we have been living in this material world for such a long time that it's almost like we have been here only. The Baddhas are those living entities who are almost eternally living within this material world. So, material world we have made as our home, but we are transmigrating from one body to another. The Buddhas are struggling very hard within this material world to become free from the threefold miseries of material life, material nature, and to enjoy life. Every life we have struggled with birth, death, right? Every time there is a threat of death, we try to take medicine, do so many things to prolong our life, right? So many times we have done like this, and we have died so many times. So it is a struggle. So we are working very hard. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? That conditioned souls are working very hard, struggling with the material nature. Manash, with their six senses, which include the mind,
Mamaevam Shudriviloke Jiva Bhutas
Sanatana,
Manashastani
Prakriti Sanatana. So we are all
Prakriti.
struggling. Hmm. Because why we are struggling? Because we have desire to live forever, and the body is not allowing us to live forever. So there is disease, there is so many things we are struggling. Intelligent, if we are intelligent, we can see this. This is whole struggle. And then we have to, people are struggling, going to job in the morning, like traveling 1.5 hours in the train, then taking a bus, then going to work, then struggling, then coming back, all for money to get some food at the end of the day, to have a place to stay. You have to work very, very hard. So this is all this. Most people are in that situation. Then you have to work on weekends and this and deployment and all this night time. You have to wake up. I was also on call one time. They would wake me up at 1:30 in the morning. Then you have to fix the problem and all this. So everybody's struggling. You can't even sleep peacefully. So the Baddhas are struggling very hard within this material world. Why we are struggling? Because we have come to enjoy in this material world, which is our unnatural situation. We could enjoy in the spiritual world, but we came here. We are like a fish out of water, so we are struggling to become free from threefold miseries of material nature, to enjoy life, whereas the muktas are already liberated. They never come into this material world. Prabhupada also said, I don't want to go there, but Krishna said, no, no, go, write some books. This will be good for you, like that. I will help you, you go. Who would like to come to this material world in the cycle of birth and death? As Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj says, vacation in the material world where there is constant harassment, backbiting, and there is old age and disease and death, like that. Nobody would like to come to vacation to such a place where there is heavy taxation, which will come in Kali Yuga at the end, towards the end of Kali Yuga. Lord Vishnu is the master of this material world, and therefore there is no question of his being controlled by material nature. Not at the end, after 10,000 years, when the Sankirtan movement will wind up, then it will happen. So Lord Vishnu is the master of this material world, and there is no question of his being controlled by material nature. So we are also like Vishnu. We are also not controlled by material nature if we are in our constitutional position. Consequently, Lord Vishnu is addressed here as Purushottam, the best of all living entities, namely Vishnu Tattvas and Jiva Tattvas. Of course, Vishnu Tattva is Vishnu himself. It is a great offense, therefore, to compare Lord Vishnu and Jiva Tattva or to consider them on equal level. We wanted to be on equal level, so that's why we came to material world. The Mayavadi philosophers equalize the Jivas and Supreme Lord and consider them to be one, but that is the greatest offense to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Here in the material world, we have practical experience that a superior person is worshipped by an inferior one. Similarly, Purushottam, the greatest personality of Supreme Personality of God, Krishna or Lord Vishnu, is always worshipped by the others. Prthu Maharaj therefore decided to engage in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Prthu Maharaj is considered to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, but he is called the Shaktavesha incarnation. So the way this material world is designed, we don't feel that there is anybody in superior, that there is anybody in charge, right? I mean, we don't see that person. We think it's just happening randomly. Everything is happening randomly. It's luck. But there is one person who is controlling everything. Prthu Maharaj is considered to be Saktavesha Avatar. Another significant word in this verse is Gunalayam, which refers to Vishnu as the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Alaya means house and Guna means qualities. So Vishnu is the reservoir of all qualities. The Mayavadi philosophers take the absolute truth to be Nirgun, without qualities, in accordance with the impersonalistic view, but actually the Lord is the reservoir of all good qualities. So, Samasta Guna Gana Dhama, in Vibhavari Sesha we say. Samasta means all, Guna is the abode, Dham is the abode or reservoir of all good qualities. One of the most important qualities of the Lord is his inclination to his devotees, for which he is called Bhaktavatsal. So he is very kind, very affectionate to his devotees. The devotees are always very much inclined to render service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord is also very much inclined to accept loving service from his devotees. In that exchange of service, there are many transcendental transactions which are called transcendental qualitative activities. Some of the transcendental qualities of the Lord are that He is omniscient, omnipresent, all pervasive, all powerful, the cause of all causes, the absolute truth, the reservoir of all pleasures, the reservoir of all knowledge, the all auspicious, and so on. Prithu Maharaj desired to serve the Lord with the goddess of fortune, but this desire does not mean that he was situated on the platform of Madhurya Ras. The goddess of fortune is engaged in the service of the Lord in the Ras of Madhurya, conjugal love. So Lakshmi is the consort of the goddess of is the consort of Lord Vishnu. So she has a very special relationship with the Lord. She is the wife of Narayan. So that is, we can say, Madhurya Ras, or Krishna in Golok Vrindavan with all the gopis, the Madhurya Ras. So it doesn't mean Prithu Maharaj wants to be in the Madhurya Ras. He doesn't want to. Although her position is on the chest of the Lord, the goddess of fortune, in her position as a devotee, takes pleasure in serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Prithu Maharaj was thinking only of the lotus feet of the Lord because he's on the platform of Dasyaras, or servitorship of the Lord. From the next verse, we learn that Prithu Maharaj was thinking of the goddess of fortune as the universal mother, Jagan Mata. Consequently, there was no question of competing with her on the platform of Madhurya. So they are in different rasa. So the goddess of fortune and Prithu Maharaj. So there was no question of competing. Nonetheless, he feared that she might take offense at his engaging in the service of the Lord. He is thinking like that, but advanced devotees, they will take pleasure in others serving the Lord, right? If one devotee sees that other devotees are serving the Lord very nicely, he feels very happy. Why he feels happy? Because they are serving the same object of love. Like your child, if you love your child and somebody buys a gift for your child, then you will feel very happy. Somebody is trying to please your child, you will feel very happy because you also love your child. So actually, there is no envy. That why not me, like that? Because they love, and if the object of love is served, then there is happiness. Yeah.
But if somebody else takes our service, like what we usually do, mm, then we become so attached to that service that say, I want to serve Krishna. Mm.
But in spiritual world, maybe Krishna can expand also, right? Every gopi was thinking that they want to be with Krishna. So Krishna expanded with all the gopis also, right? In Dwarka also he expanded. So you can do the same service to Krishna.
But in the material world, how should we not feel
Mhm.
envious, or not envious, but maybe uncomfortable that someone else has taken our service?
Well, there are many other services we can do. Uh, so somebody has taken our service, like we are making garlands for the Lord, let's say, and then somebody else says, "No, I will make garlands from now on." So
Like
then,
when we were in the ISKCON Govardhan, we were sweeping the floor, and so everybody was saying, "No, let me sweep it," and uh, everybody wanted to do that. So we can also
we
maybe
take turns.
partially, they can do partially,
Yeah,
so everybody gets a chance.
yeah, we can take turns. But like for some services like Aarti, let's say you're doing Aarti of the Lord. So somebody says you do half Aarti,
Mm.
you do till the lamp, then I will do after from the lamp. That cannot be possible on the altar because generally we have only. But that can also be maybe done. I don't know if it can be done. But we can also do the same service in the mind also to Krishna, and Krishna will accept. And then there are other services also. So if somebody is doing Aarti and I also want to do Aarti, I can do Aarti in the mind also if I don't get opportunity to serve. But there are many other services also. And we should feel happy that, oh, this person is doing such nice service. He has such eagerness to do service. So let me allow him to do service. I should also allow him to progress on the path. back to Godhead. So I should not always be thinking about myself. I can do so many other services. And we can also think that by appreciating others' service, I am also making spiritual advancement. Even if I'm not doing the service, but if I appreciate, then I get the same benefit. Or I can facilitate their service. So I can help them in some way. I can serve that person. And then, like Dukhi was not doing the service of doing Abhishek directly, but she was helping other devotees who were doing the service. So in this way also she got all the credit. So we can serve those devotees who are doing the service. And if you want to do the service, and we can divide, right? As you were saying, we can divide. Some days you can do, some days I can do, like that. And then there are other services also to be done. So it is basically your consciousness behind the service that's most important. It's not which service you do. You may be stringing garlands, or you may be, as Prabhupada says, you may be cleaning the floor. But when you are doing that service, uh, are you doing it with the mood of pleasing Krishna? Then all the services are equal. But of course, according to our psychophysical nature, we may have a certain tendency to do certain service. So that is there. There can also be anarthas, because I want to do this service and I will not allow anybody else to do this service. So that is also, maybe sometimes we have to introspect and see, is it because I'm very attached and like that. Of course, attached to Krishna's service is good, but is there any element of false ego in that? So where I'm doing it for my own glorification, so like that. Supposing I like to give class, so I will only give class. I will not allow anybody else to give class. Now you may say that is a service to speak about Krishna, or I like to do kirtan, so I will only do kirtan. I will not allow anybody else to do kirtan. But others also want to do kirtan. So if I say that only I will do kirtan, you know, then there may be an element that I want to be glorified, so I will not allow anybody else to do that service. So, right, that can be there. There are some limelight services also. Limelight services means you are in the limelight. So sometimes we can do some service, menial service, without the knowledge of anybody, and just do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So it happens many times. Like there is a prime time slot when you want to do kirtan, and somebody else also wants to do. That's the time when most all the people come in the temple. And Janmashtami, that's Janmashtami day. It's about 10 or 10:30, 11 when temple is crowded, and you want to do, but you don't want to do the same service at maybe 4 o'clock, because there are not many people. So there may be an element of like that, trying to, because I'm doing it when there is a crowd, so that people will appreciate me. What do you say? Is that true? It can be like that. I'm not saying it has to be like that, but
Yeah, so this is like a weed going growing next to the Bhakti Kripa, Puja La Pratishtha. All our services should be done for the pleasure of Krishna. That's pure devotional service.
yes. Okay, so like that also there are things that. So it is very subtle things, but okay. So consequently, there was no question of his competing with her on the platform of Madhuri Ras. Nonetheless, he feared that she might take offense at his engaging in the service of the Lord. Okay. This suggests that in the absolute world there is sometimes competition between servitors in the service of the Lord, but such competition is without malice. In Vaikuntha worlds, if a devotee excels in the service of the Lord, others do not become envious of his excellent service, but rather aspire to come to the platform of that service. All right. So, any comments on this verse? Okay, next verse we can read. My dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi is the mother of the universe, and yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on that very platform to which she is so much attached. Like, isn't it in Kali Yuga it says, even if you can't do something, but if you do a pious activity in your mind, then you also get the same benefit, right? So,
Right. We read it in Nectar of Devotion, the story of the Brahmana who did not have, who was very poor. In his mind, he was decorating the deities and also making kheer for them. And when he touched the kheer to check if it was cool enough, it got burnt. So it's mentioned there in Act of Devotion that everything, all services you can do in the mind, and you will get the same result as physically doing it.
and also Vasudev, when he was in the prison, he wanted to give charity, right? When Krishna was born, so he gave charity in his mind. He gave because he was in the prison, he couldn't do it. So he gave charity at Krishna's birth, right? So yeah, many examples like that.
But everything we can't do like that, Prabhuji. In case if everybody thinks that, oh, I will give in the mind the donation to the temple like that, and I will cook in the food like that, and I will give prasadam like that, everything is not possible. Is it not, Prabhuji? That's my question.
No, I'm saying that when you cannot do physically, if there is some, let's say somebody is doing some service and you want to do that service and you're not able to do that service, then you can do it in your mind, right? So you don't have the means. This Brahmana didn't have the means to, he didn't have the money, he didn't have all these things to cook nice food and everything to offer it to Krishna. So when you have the means, you do it. I'm not saying that if you have the means, then uh, you do it just in the mind. But when you don't have the means and you want to do the service, then you can do it in your mind, and Krishna will accept that. And yeah, sometimes we may do physically the service, but our mind is not there. So we may be singing kirtan, but our mind is not there, or we may be doing arti, but our mind is not there. Like so, Manas Seva is very nice in the sense that we are, because the highest instruction is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So we are bringing our mind to Krishna. So that's also very important in that way. Actually, ideally, we should do both physically and like actuals doing it, and then also bring your mind to Krishna. So both should be there. But most important is to bring, we are where our mind is. So we have to bring the mind to Krishna. Somehow or other. Okay, yeah. So, my dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the mother of the universe. And yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on that very platform to which she is so much. Like what is Radharani's bhav? Prabhupada says, Radharani, when somebody comes with a flower and tells Radharani, you offer it to your Krishna. And Radharani tells Krishna, he is a better devotee than me. Uh, please accept this flower. Krishna, please accept. He's a better devotee than me. So that is Radharani's mood, right? She wants that. And then Krishna, Prabhupada says, oh, Krishna will not refuse because Radharani is saying. So he cannot refuse. Even I may be rascal number one. It says like that in the class. But if Radharani is pleading with Krishna and Radharani is saying like that, then Krishna will not refuse. So that is the mood of Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishna Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sadahari. So, my dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune. Of course, I'm saying all this, but it's difficult to. We have to we have to endeavor to practice like that. My dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi is the mother of the universe. And yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on that very platform to which she is so much attached. Yet I am hopeful that even though there is some misunderstanding, you will take my part, for you are very much inclined to the poor, and you always magnify even insignificant service unto you. So the Lord is not seeing externally, He is seeing at our heart. So so that we know that even if I can't do the service, but if I have the desire in my heart and I'm longing and hankering, then Krishna is seeing that. Therefore, even though she becomes angry, I think there is no harm for you because you are so much self-sufficient that you can do without her. So maybe he's imagining things. He's thinking that even if she becomes angry with me because I'm like trying to do the same service as her, but you are very kind, to poor people and even little service. So I'm very insignificant. So you will accept me, even if she becomes angry. And if she becomes angry and if she doesn't serve you, then also you don't need anybody. So he's saying like you are self-sufficient, you are Atmaram, you can do without her. Of course, we know Krishna always wants to be in the association of Radharani. Mother Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, is well known for always massaging the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. She is an ideal wife because she takes care of Lord Narayan in every detail. She takes care of not only his lotus feet but of the household affairs of the Lord as well. So they have household affairs also. So So she cooks nice food for him, fans him while he eats, smooths sandalwood pulp on his face, and sets his bed and sitting places in the right order. So, like Rukmini must be doing everything for Krishna. She must be setting his bed and everything, cooking for him, and in Dwarka. In this way, and Radharani, she is always engaged. Radharani also comes and cooks daily for Krishna, the breakfast and everything. So she's very attentive to serving Krishna, every detail. Attention to detail is what? Attention to detail
It's a sign of love.
is a sign of love. So she is very careful, attentive to Narayan's needs, Lakshmi. In this way, she is always engaged in the service of the Lord, and there is hardly any opportunity for any other devotee to intrude upon his daily activities. So she is very possessive, maybe, and she is always taking care. Prithu Maharaj was therefore almost certain that his intrusion into the service of Goddess of Fortune would irritate her and cause her to become angry with him. But why should Mother Lakshmi, the Mother of Universe, be angry with an insignificant devotee like Prithu Maharaj? All this was not very likely. Yet Prithu Maharaj, just for his personal protection, appealed to the Lord to take his part. So even if Lakshmi becomes angry at me, then Prithu is saying, please be kind to me because you are in Dina Bandhu, your friend of the poor. Prithu Maharaj was engaged in performing ordinary Vedic rituals and sacrifices according to Karma Kanda or fruitive activities. But the Lord, being so kind and magnanimous, was ready to award Prithu Maharaj the highest perfectional stage of life, namely devotional service. Okay, when a person performs Vedic rituals and sacrifice, he does so too. I don't know why Prabhupada is saying that he was engaged in performing ordinary Vedic rituals and according to Karma Kanda. Okay. When a person performs Vedic rituals and sacrifices, he does so to elevate himself to heavenly planets. So normally Karma Kanda is to get better enjoyment. And better enjoyment is in heavenly planets, Swargalok. No one can become qualified to go back home, back to Godhead by means of such sacrifices. Because those sacrifices are done not for pleasure of the Lord, but for enjoyment. But at least they are accepting the demigods and whatever the sacrifices they are doing. So it is one step closer to accepting an authority. So, but the Lord is so kind that He accepts a little insignificant service, and therefore it is stated in the Vishnu Puran that by following the principles of Varnashram Dharma, one can satisfy the Supreme Lord. So little service can satisfy the Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, the performer of sacrifice is elevated to the platform of devotional service. So if Krishna smiles at us one time, our life is perfect, right? So, I was hearing one lecture yesterday. We'll play a little bit of that. Prithu Maharaj therefore expected that his insignificant service to the Lord would be accepted by him as being greater than that of Lakshmi ji. So I don't know, greater than Lakshmi ji. That's not like being very humble. But maybe the Lord will think like that. The goddess of fortune is called Chanchala because she is very restless and is always coming and going. Chanchal. Lakshmi is very chanchal. So Prithu Maharaj indicated that even though she might go away out of anger, there will be no harm for Lord Vishnu because he is self-sufficient and can do anything and everything without the help of Lakshmi ji. For example, when Garbhodakshai Vishnu begot Lord Brahma from his navel, he did not take any help from Lakshmi, was just sitting by him and massaging his lotus feet. Generally, if a son is to be begotten, the husband impregnates the wife, and in due course of time the son is born. But in case of Lord Brahma's birth, Garbhodakshai Vishnu did not impregnate Lakshmi ji. Being self-sufficient, the Lord begot Brahma from his own navel. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj was confident that even if the goddess of fortune became angry with him, there would be no harm, neither to the Lord nor to himself. Which we say, without pleasing Radharani, we cannot please Krishna. So, without going through Radharani, we cannot approach Krishna. But here, Lakshmi ji, of course, Lakshmi is the representative of Srimati Radharani. And he's directly approaching. He's saying, even if Lakshmi becomes angry with me, then there is no problem. Because you will still accept me. And for you, there will be no problem. Even if she goes away, you are Atma Ram. So, you can create so many Lakshmis. Like that. Something like that he's saying. Okay. And we say in Brahma Samhita, so many Lakshmis are serving. Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam. Sahasra means 1,000. So Lakshmis are serving. So, but of course we know also without Radharani, Krishna cannot sustain. So it's a little bit what this philosophy is saying is different. Okay, so we can stop here. Any comments or anything? Okay. Is there anything else anybody like to share?
I can see much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Well, I want to share one experience which I had, and it was very horrible. That's why I hope somebody may not have gotten this before me, because it can be very misfortune. So, making long story short, I went to a temple, again, Sanatan Dharma Vedic temple, like Dakshin Bharat style. So, generally Vaishnav temple, they are used to, like in ISKCON temple, if you go and do Sastang Pranam, which is very usual, and people will be aware of that. I went to the temple and I was paying obeisances. One person, he said that he saw me, but then somehow he decided to walk backwards. And he straight came on me. And the lucky part was actually, so couple of things, that we always do obeisances diagonal. We never do straight obeisances. So that is one rule. And I was following that, and that's why I survived. And both of us survived actually. So he literally fell on the floor, but luckily he did not fell on me because I was diagonal. And it did hurt him little bit, but at the end of the day, both of us were laughing for 5 minutes and crying at the same time, that how much Lord is careful. So if you visit the only uh, I don't say advice but just suggestion, if you go to any temple, or if you go some temple, any is a negative word so I stay away from. So if you go to temple where people can, so again, yatra with two is always good. So make sure that you are guarded, because your head is down, and if somebody falls on you, just imagine that person was nearly 200 pounds. He was very heavy. If he would have fallen on me, I would have been it could have been emergency situation. So just be careful when you pay full sastang pranam. You are aware of your ambience, or at least tell somebody that uh, nothing like this can happen. That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, in Vrindavan, when we offer obeisances, there's a lot of people who are in the front and they're moving this way. So sometimes we have to be careful when we offer obeisances. So they don't know, and sometimes they may step back and they may step on your body, and whole weight may come on your body also. So we have to offer obeisances. So we have to be careful. And also we are careful because many devotees are offering obeisances and we are moving, and then we can step on them like that also. So okay, good advice. So yeah, what is this?
And we can offer obeisances from far also, where there is
Ah,
less people, rather than be in front of the deity and offer.
right.
Krishna is seeing us offering obeisances, whether it's closer or
Hmm.
far distance where there is no people around.
Krishna is not what you can say short-sighted or like that. He can see everything. So okay, yes. And even if sometimes where there is rush and we want to go and see the deity in front, even if we cannot go, we see from behind also, from a far off distance, and that's also, of course, because we have not good vision, at least for me. So we need, we may want to see the Lord close so that we can have an impression on the mind. But sometimes when there is too much rush, you can see from distance.
See, we go to the temples to be seen by the Lord.
Mm.
We can't see him because of our, we don't have the proper eyes to see him.
Mm. But let's say somebody says, I want to see the beautiful form of the Lord, I want to see what different ornaments he's wearing, and like that,
Mm.
I want to meditate upon that, what he's wearing. But if I'm very far, I cannot see what exactly is his.
Yes, Prabhuji, we usually do that. We wanted to go and have the Lord's darshan as close as possible and enjoy his beauty and each and every ornament, what he's wearing, what type of flowers he's wearing. And we feel like bowing down to him also right in front of him. Sometimes we have that notion like
But
so.
that is the issue, right? Everybody wants to go in the front, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why like there is pushing and things like
So
that happen.
that.
Everybody wants to see the Lord from a close
But now we have these videos, right? They do a live telecast and we can see so much in detail.
distance. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we can see nicer on the video than like because in the temple there is so many people. So like in Mayapur and other places, right? They put Narsingadev on the screen, so you can see Narsingadev. Yeah. Okay. So
Also, in that Philadelphia temple we went, they had telescopes, right? See, see the Lord, because the Lord is little far away, to see the details.
oh yeah, the binoculars. Yeah.
Binoculars, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I can paste.
Okay, let me see. Pasted. Okay.
Yes. So this is from Sharanagati Bhaktivinoda Thakur. सर्वस्वा तोमार चरणे संपिया पड़ेছে तुम्हारा घरे তুমি তো ঠাকুর तुम्हारा কুকুর বলিয়া জানা হু মোরে বাঁধিয়া নিকটে আমারে পালিবে রহিব তোমারা দ্বারে প্রতিপা জানে রে আসিতে না দিব রাখিব গড়েরা পারে तब निज जना प्रसाद सेविया उच्चिष्ट राखिबे जहाँ हमारा भोजन परम आनंदे प्रतिदिन हाबे तहाँ বসিয়া শুইয়া তোমারা চরণ চিন্তিব সতত আমি নাচিতে নাচিতে নিকটে যাইব যখন ডাকিবে তুমি নিজেরা পোষণ কবু না ভাবিব রহিব ভাবেরা ভরে ভক্তি বিনু তোমারে পালকা বলিয়া বরণ করে সর্বস্ব তোমার চরণে সম্পিয়া পড়েছে তোমারা ঘরে তুমি তো ঠাকুর তোমারা কুকুর বলিয়া জানা হু মোরে. Translation. Now that I have surrendered all I possess, I fall prostrate before your house. You are the Supreme Lord. Kindly consider me your household dog. Chain me nearby and maintain me as you will. I shall remain at the doorstep and allow no enemies to enter your house. I will keep them at the bounds of the moat surrounding your home. Whatever remnants your devotees leave behind after honoring your prasad will be my daily sustenance. I will feast on those remnants with great ecstasy. While sitting up, while lying down, I will constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Whenever you call, I will immediately run to you and dance in rapture. I will never think of my own maintenance, but rather remain transported by a multitude of ecstasies. Bhaktivinoda accepts you as his only support. So this comes under Gopatritve Varna, limb of surrender, which means that Krishna is my maintainer. So I am a household dog. I've surrendered everything to Krishna, and now Krishna will maintain me. He has purchased me. Now he will maintain me, and I will follow his orders, whatever he says, and I will just eat whatever remnants the devotees have left behind. In great ecstasy, I will feast on that, and always meditating on the lotus feet, how I can serve my master, sitting up, lying down, always meditating what are the services I can do to please my master. And whenever Krishna asks me to do something, I will immediately run to him. Whenever he calls me, I will immediately run to him. So I don't need to worry about my maintenance because my master, he's very compassionate, kind, he will take care of me. So yeah, that should be the mood, that I have sold myself to the most amazing master, Krishna. I don't need to worry about anything. He will take care of me, and I just want to serve him to please him. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So you can only surrender when you have faith that Krishna will protect me, Krishna will maintain me. If I surrender to him, he will do everything good for me. So he will take care of me just as parents take care of the child, right? So the child has simple faith That's why he's free from anxiety also. Right? So those who have simple faith that Krishna will take care, they can surrender. Okay. This is one of the links of surrender, yeah. So Krishna will maintain me. And then more higher is Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tuhar. So I have no expectations, I'll serve you. But you have said you will protect. So however you want to protect. Right? Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tuhar. So
नित्य दास प्रति तु अधिकार महावशो देहु गेहु जो किछु.
okay, so we can read this book for some time. Uh, which book? The
Dancing White Elephants.
so let's see where I missed the yesterday's reading. So which page?
26. We are on page 26.
Page 26. Okay.
You can read that page. We read it and we were on the last paragraph.
Okay. So what is
But you
the
can.
where is the what is the context? Where are we in this?
Well, all these devotees, they have been they are in Delhi. Prabhupada asked them to get off the. So the train stopped in Delhi while it was going to Bombay or something, and somebody came and he asked Prabhupada, "Can we set up temple here in Delhi?" So he asked few of his disciples to get down, gave him some rupees, few rupees only, and then they are in a house, but they have to they have to make money for themselves to eat also. So they are doing sankirtan in the street corners and getting some little donation that can give them only one time prasad. Sometimes they are being called to home programs where they're fed nicely. But Prabhupada said to in them in the letter that you focus on approaching, bigger personalities, political people. You go to Indira Gandhi and take a photograph from her, because also somebody is saying that, or there's being propaganda that these Western people are like actually CIA members and they're being sent to as a spy from US government. So wrong propaganda is being spread. So Prabhupada says you meet with Indira Gandhi and that will give you credibility like that. So that's what is happening. They had a picture taken with the Indira Gandhi and she was very much impressed. And then Prabhupada is also telling them, oh, you should go to this person, because Prabhupada knows, because he was in when he was in Radha Damodar, he would come to the Delhi, right, for his Bhagavatam publishing as well as for distributing back to Godhead. So he had made some contacts previously. So he's telling all these disciples to go to their homes, Mr. Gupta or some other Joshi's home, so that they will become life members and they will further on give more contacts. So that's where we are. And some people are taking very nice care, and these devotees are very sick with dysentery and some other sickness, because there's wherever they were staying, there were rats also. And the water was contaminated like that. So all these are sick, but some Indians families, they are taking care of. In this Yamuna Devi was saying that some lady brought her back into full health, and she also taught her so many preparations because she was a good she was a good cook. So Yamuna Devi would shadow her and she learned so many things from her. That was the first paragraph on this page. So you can start with maybe the second paragraph.
Okay. Page 26. Right. In spite of the illness, in spite of the illness, uncleanliness, and a host of other challenges, I was actually enthused on one level because I got my first taste of what Srila Prabhupada had to confront when he came from Vrindavan to Delhi for his books. And who is speaking this? Yamuna Devi speaking, or Giriraj Maharaj speaking?
Yamuna Devi. Yamuna Devi.
Yamuna Devi saying that I understood what difficulties Prabhupada had to go through when he came from Vrindavan to Delhi, because she was experiencing those difficulties also. He was just fully dependent on Krishna for even the most basic means of survival. We were also in that position. So Prabhupada didn't have money, they didn't have money at that time, so they were in the same position. Even though we came from the West. So whenever something came to us, we were incredibly aware that it was Krishna's gift because we were trying to do this little service for Srila Prabhupada. So if you have nothing and something comes to you, then you say, oh, it's Krishna sent it because we are trying to serve Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes we get so much, but we don't think it is Krishna's because we think we are entitled to it. So we would all get together and have philosophical discussions to try and understand. To put into perspective what we were to do and how we were to do it in Krishna consciousness and for Srila Prabhupada. So they were on a mission, right, to establish a temple, is it? And they were discussing about
Yeah.
how we should do it, what we should do. There were often discussions like that. Despite the enormous challenges, we were all imbued with the consciousness that we were like marionettes, and Srila Prabhupada was pulling the strings, or we can say like puppets in Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was pulling the string. For me, the concept of understanding bhakti, that service to Guru and Krishna is not only pleasing but enhances one's identity instead of diminishing it, was gradually becoming more and more clear as the months and years went by. So she was thinking that service to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna was the most important thing, which will bring us closer to Krishna and one's own identity. How could we be in such unappealing conditions and yet feel growth from them? So it was not a very nice situation materially, but they were feeling that they are spiritually growing. This was the Krishna magic at work in Delhi. Knowing how important the life membership program was to Srila Prabhupada gave us constant motivation in our service. So they were probably making life members, and they knew that it was a very important. Prabhupada wanted this. It was very important for Srila Prabhupada to make life members, and they were engaged in that service. So like that, also, of course, all services are important, but we say Prabhupada says to distribute his books. How much he said, if you want to please me, distribute my books. So when we engage in some service like that, whether it may be whatever service, Prabhupada regarded all services important. So we should think, yeah, it is so pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. Yamuna would later cite this inaugural Delhi experience as foundational to her understanding of how one becomes dependent on Krishna and the spiritual master. So she went through so much difficulty, but she got the realization of how to depend on Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. She felt that the Sangha of us all sharing our experiences and philosophical understanding, however rudimentary, was central to our achieving a positive and encouraging devotional outcome despite the enormous challenges. So they were discussing about how to propagate Krishna consciousness, and it was encouraging them. We saw it as our training ground, and we were ready to take what we had learned to the next outpost. So they had one assignment after another. So they were willing to learn from every assignment and implement in their next assignment. While in Delhi, I submitted an article to Back to Godhead entitled Krishna, Our Dearmost Friend, which was subsequently published. So this is the article that was published. I think this was published by Giriraj Maharaj, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So there's a big article. So many pages. I think the whole article is there here. Okay, so we can read. Yeah. So friend, one joined to another in intimacy and affection, sympathizer, helper. So what is the definition of friend? A friend is one who is joined to another in intimacy and affection, sympathizer and helper. Somebody who helps us, who sympathizes with us. A friend in need is a friend in need. A friend is very hard to define. Therefore, arbitrarily, we refer to Little Oxford Dictionary, the only dictionary at hand. And utilizing this definition, we can seek still further and ask, who is our dearmost friend? And even by this definition, we are in agreement with the verdict of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Our dearmost friend is Krishna. Since a bona fide spiritual master is the direct representative of Krishna, he shares in Krishna qualities of excellence. He shares in Krishna's qualities of excellence. Thus, for the devotees of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada is also our dearmost friend because he is also bringing closer to Krishna and he shares in the qualities of Krishna. Practically, he is the only authorized source of bona fide information about the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada is our most dearest friend. He is the external representative and the mercy incarnation of Krishna. Practically, he is the only authorized source of bona fide information about the personality of God because he is instructing us according to the revealed scriptures how we can revive our relationship with God. By hearing such information from the bona fide spiritual master, one can at once become detached from one's inferior engagement with matter and attach oneself to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So at once he's saying, by hearing, at once one can become attached to Krishna and detached from material entanglement. In this way one attains God. Therefore we consider the real friend to be he who can direct us to God, the supreme friend and well-wisher of all living entities. Not he who merely claims to be our friend and asks us to tell him our problems. So Prabhupada said like that, right? Real friend is Krishna, our only friend is Krishna. So anybody who brings us closer to Krishna, that's our real friend because Krishna can solve all the problems. So for everybody. His divine grace is huh?
Like he said that in material world everybody has limitations,
Correct.
but Krishna has no limitations. And so devotee tells that not that I am your friend, but Krishna is your best friend, because a devotee also has limitations and limitation in his capability and how much he can do, but there is no limit in what Krishna can do.
Yeah, Krishna can remove any karma, anything like that. He can do anything he wants because he's all powerful. So, somebody who increases our Krishna consciousness and inspiration to serve Krishna is our real friend. So, connects us with also in that way. So, he's saying, Viraj Maharaj is saying that Srila Prabhupada is also our dear friend because he's sharing Krishna's quality. Like we say, Titikshava Karudika Surida Sarvadehina. So, devotee is also well wisher to all living entities. Just like Krishna is Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. So, like that.
Pasted the purport where Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is the actual friend. If you make friendship with Krishna, one will never be cheated.
Yeah, and if Krishna is with you, then that's it. You don't need. If the world may be against you, right? That's verse also there. But if Krishna is with you,
Yes, so I say arousing this consciousness of the conditioned soul that Krishna is your best friend is the greatest service, not posing oneself as a great friend of another living entity. The power of friendship is limited. Although one claims to be a friend, he cannot be a friend unlimitedly. There are unlimited number of living entities and our resources are limited. Therefore, we cannot be of any real benefit to the people in general. The best service is to the people in general is to awaken them to Krishna consciousness and tell them that Krishna is your best friend.
because only God can save us from the cycle of birth and death. Ultimately, Krishna only can take us out from this. Nobody else can. Stop this miseries and everything. Right? I mean, And if somebody helps us, then they are also agents of Krishna only, but we express our gratitude to them. So, but they are also getting their intelligence from Krishna only. So, let's say if I have a disease and I go to doctor and the doctor removes the disease, so we should be grateful to the doctor. Yeah, he helped me, but Krishna only helped because he sanctioned it. That's right.
Yeah, sometimes we have too much expectation from others or from devotees, right? But we should understand that they may have limitation.
Uh-huh.
Ultimately, yeah, Krishna is using them as an instrument
Hmm.
to help this to help the devotee. But having too much expectations from devotees also it disappoints us.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is also there. Yeah, because nobody is perfect, right? Sometimes, but pure devotee also is perfect. So if there is a pure devotee, but then you are not always in contact with the pure devotees, right? Because they are not
And
always.
pure devotee is also like Prabhupada had so many followers and he couldn't personally reciprocate with each one of them, although he was trying his best answering the letters and because as human we are limited, right? But of course a pure devotee can do much more.
That's true. So we should serve the devotees if you want to be like accepted by Krishna. Then we should do service to devotees. We should help them. We should whatever we can do in our capacity to serve them. That's very pleasing to Krishna. And Krishna says, those who are my devotees, they are not my devotees, but those who are devotees of my devotees, they are my devotees. So Krishna wants us to become dasanudas, gopi bhartur pad kamalayor, dasanudas. So we are meant to be the servant of the servant of the servant. And all the jivas are ultimately devotees of Krishna. So we serve the jivas by giving them Krishna, like in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books or talking about Krishna, and that makes us also very dear to Krishna. So, and when what we tell them is this, that Krishna is your real friend, right? So, Prabhupada is saying that don't best service to people in general is to awaken them to Krishna consciousness. So, if everybody becomes Krishna conscious, then Krishna will help everyone, and then everybody will be delivered from the cycle of birth. This dream of lording it over material. Krishna will remove the illusion in this world. We are all under illusion, so Krishna only can remove this illusion. Of course, the pure devotee also removes the illusion by giving us the. He talks about Krishna only and Krishna's message, and by that he removes our illusion. So, okay, so that is. So we should be grateful to the devotees who are removing the illusion from our life and inspiring us in our Krishna. Like Prahlad Maharaj said, right? He said, I was following the general populace and I was falling into a blind well full of snakes. But you, your representative, Narad Muni, delivered me from this. How can I forget his service, right? Something like that, he says. So, without Srila Prabhupada, we wouldn't have gotten this knowledge. You know, this Bhagavad Gita, how he clearly, you know, there were so many Bhagavad Gitas before, but without Srila Prabhupada, the mercy, we couldn't have. And then all his disciples who published helped him publish and distribute this Bhagavad Gita. So we got the Bhagavad Gita somehow. And because of that, we are now able to understand Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, without Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we couldn't understand anything. There is so much confusion, right, in Hinduism and So many people are saying so many things. So there's no clear, even though you may be born in a Vaishnav family or something like that, but you may not have understanding of things as they are, like how Prabhupada wrote and his books. Or somebody was saying that Prabhupada wrote his books at night, waking up. And we don't even have time in the day to read the books. So he wrote books staying up whole night. And we should read these books at least 2-3 hours every day. There was a quote recently by, who is that? Let's see, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. So let me show that quote. Sorry, I'm digressing, but reading a pleasing tapasya. If you simply take little trouble to understand Krishna, that tapasya is required. To read Krishna's instructions, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and try to understand Krishna. Because that tapasya, if you take little painful, it is not painful, it is very pleasing, but we avoid it. We think it is painful. Who is going to read books? We are meant for selling books, not for reading books. This is not good. We should read also. That is tapasya. Don't think that simply our books are meant for selling. No, it is meant for reading also. If we read regularly, at least 2 hours, 3 hours, that is tapasya. Okay. So I'll read this page. So therefore we consider the real friend to be he who can direct us to God, the supreme friend and well-wisher of all living entities, not he who merely claims to be our friend and asks us to tell him our problems. His divine grace is Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami. Prabhupada can direct us to God and is therefore our dearmost friend. And if we are able to help others, that is also because of Krishna has given us the ability and the energy to help others, so that we are able to help others. So we should not take the credit, even if we help others. We should say, oh, it is Krishna who has given me this healthy body, so I can do your service, whatever. The science of God and his relationship with us is elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures. These literatures are designed to help the living entity realize his eternal relationship with the Supreme so that he can live happily in life. The factual relation between the Supreme Lord in the heart and the minute living entity, both of whom are spiritual and individual, is compared to that of two birds in a tree. The tree in the material body is the material body of the living entity. The living entity bird, captivated by the fruits of the material tree, is tasting both the bitter and sweet, while the Supreme Lord bird is witnessing the activities of his friend, fulfilling his desires by his omnipotence. The example is given in the Mundak Upanishad and Shvetashvatar Upanishad, where the living entity is called Atma, while the Supreme Lord in the heart is called Paramatma. Though both are spiritual, the Supreme Lord is accepted as superior. Therefore, the Lord is simply witnessing the activities of his friend, waiting for him to surrender to him. You want to read one more page?
Yeah. Thus, we see that the living entity is individual and he has some minute independence, though he is always associated with and subordinate to the Lord, however forgetful or unconscious he may be of that relationship. Who could be a better friend than Krishna, staying with us in every circumstance? While we are changing from tree to tree or body to body, Krishna, who is not affected whatsoever by this mundane world, accompanies us lifetime after lifetime. He is waiting for us to intelligently use that independence He has given us to surrender to Him, thereby ending the cycle of repeated birth and death. So we have to surrender the little independence, that we have free will. We have to surrender our free will to Krishna. Even in the liberated state, he stays with us. The living entity and the Supreme Lord, though distinct from one another, always remain together. The same living entity is eternal and is joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. They are joined intimately as two distinct individuals eternally. The living entity must simply agree to accept the supreme will of the Supreme Lord. Then he will be happy. The Lord, having given us independence, is so kind that he will fulfill our desires no matter what they may be. Yeah, as we were discussing yesterday, you know, Krishna is fulfilling our desires, even if they are sinful. Man proposes and God disposes. The Lord is neutral towards all of his sons and daughters, and he never interferes with the way in which we use our independence. If a son insists on doing something nonsensical, the father will reluctantly give his sanction. All right, if you insist, go ahead. But then if you put our hand in the fire, we get burnt, but then we learn from our mistakes and we don't want to repeat it. Similarly, the Supreme Lord allows us to exercise our minute independence, and since we are helpless to fulfill our desires, he fulfills them for us. Birth after birth, body after body, Krishna grants whatever we desire. Thus the body we take is created according to our desire. As long as we desire a material body, Krishna will give us one. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a particular type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, sense of touch, which are all grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. This is Bhagavad Gita 15.8 and 9. Krishna gives us our body and then he accompanies us inside of it. But he is not responsible for how we utilize it. So as Paramatma, Krishna is accompanying us wherever we are going. We get a particular body and various circumstances of birth according to our karma and what we are thinking of at the time of death. In other words, according to our own desires. So Bhagavad Gita says, those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship ghosts and spirit will take birth amongst such beings, and those who worship me will live with me. Do you want to go ahead, Prabhu?
Yeah, we can go ahead. We can continue this page.
Okay. By thus understanding that God grants material facilities according to our desires, we can understand that our suffering in the material world is due to us, not the Lord. The Lord is neutral to all his children, giving us whatever we want. God never interferes with the desires of the living entities, for if he did, what would be the meaning of the minute independence he has given us? And where would there be any possibility for love? In ignorance, we think we are God, or that we can enjoy independently of God. And so the Lord gives us this material body and the material world. But the Lord is hoping that we will give up our material desires and come to him. In the Gita, Krishna states that out of many thousands of men, few will seek perfection, but that in return, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their heart, will destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness of ignorance. In this way, God is both partial and impartial. He gives us whatever we want. He shines like the sun for everyone, but those who wish to remain in the closet of the material nature, they receive no tangible benefit. Yeah, so that we say the sun is giving sunlight for everyone, but those who open the windows will get benefited from the sun. Means those who hear what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita and follows the instruction will get benefited. So, like that, Krishna is impartial to everyone. Still, he impartially offers the possibility of his special care to all, and we may take shelter of him or his material energy Maya as we choose. Krishna confirms, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Bhagavad Gita 7:25. O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita 9:13. Thus, Krishna, whether we take shelter of him or not, is always our dearmost friend, since he always takes care to fulfill our desires. And beyond merely fulfilling our desires, he encourages us to desire for him. Then, when we surrender to him, we become happy and he takes special care of us. He knows us and fulfills our desires by his expansion as a Paramatma or Vishnu. But superior to the realization of Paramatma is realization of Krishna, engaging in loving affairs with his pure devotees in his original form in his spiritual abode. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives his final instruction to Arjuna: You surrender unto me. He has previously stated that he and the supersoul within are one. So his instruction is that somehow or other we surrender unto him, within or without. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. O scion of Bharat, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Bhagavad Gita 18:61 to 63. Krishna, being so kind, invites us to serve him, but he never forces us, nor does he interfere. And Arjuna at once replies, I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. By the mercy of Paramatma, one gets the intelligence to attain Krishna. The living entity, the bird, having surrendered to his dearmost friend, the Paramatma, the bird, becomes free from the entanglement of the material tree and is available to associate directly with Krishna in pastimes of love in the spiritual world. You want to continue, brother?
Yeah, we can finish this article. Let's see, it's one page more. I'll read some.
Yeah. Mhm.
But how we are to understand God, that God, how are we to understand that God is in our hearts? He is there in his beautiful 400 form as Vishnu and is just as real as if he were standing before us and talking to us. He is there within the heart and we must purify ourselves in order to see him. Do not think that God is in our hearts is simply a truism. He is there and can be seen by a pure devotee. So we don't realize Krishna is in our heart, but as we become pure, we'll realize that Krishna is in Premanjana Churi. Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilopayanti. This investigation of the friend within our hearts, when based on the scientific information regarding the living entity and the Supreme Soul, presented by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, culminates in the realization of the Paramatma, as experienced by great sages like Narad Muni and described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can perceive the Lord in our heart, as Narad Muni did. From these descriptions, we can understand that Krishna is actually there in our hearts, and that when we fully surrender to Him, we become completely satisfied, and we can see Him face to face. And what do we see? We see the all attractive transcendental form of our dearmost friend. So when we surrender to Krishna, we will become satisfied. Yayatma suprasidati. We become very happy and satisfied. And anxiety free. The meditation on this dearmost friend in our hearts is explained in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 2 to 13. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. So we should see Natavar from his lotus feet and then we go up. Of course, his knee is bent, one knee is bent, one knee is straight, and then you go up. Then you see all the beautiful, the belly, then you go up, and then you come to the smiling face of the Lord. In this way, higher and higher, the more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. Thus is revealed the beautiful form of the personality of Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart and measuring only 8 inches with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel, a chariot, a conch shell, and club respectively. So he is like the size of a thumb or 8 inches and is in our heart as Paramatma, as Vishnu. He is holding all this. His lotus feet are placed over the world of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. On his chest there is Kaustuba jewel, engraved with beautiful calf. There are other jewels on his shoulders, and his complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. So this is a description of Paramatma. I think we read in our Shonam Saturday. He is well decorated with ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. But you can imagine, or you can not imagine, but think of any form of the Lord which you want to see in your heart. And think of Lord Nrsingadev or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna Balram or Radha Krishna. Here it is describing Vishnu, but we can see the Lord in whichever form we want in the heart, in one of his incarnations like that. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glance of his smiling face are all indications of his extended benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on the transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. Of course, Prabhupada says we should always meditate on the form of Shyam Sundar, which was present before Arjun, and not divert our attention to any other form of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, he says like that. But depending on who we are attracted to, some devotees are attracted to Nrsingadev. Some you can always think of the Lord in your heart like that. And yeah, thus being fixed, one must render service unto the super soul situated in one's heart by his omnipotency. Because he is the Almighty Personality of God and eternal and unlimited, he is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him, one can end the cause of conditional state of existence. This is the final instruction of Krishna in the Gita, to surrender unto him and render service unto him. So drop everything else, Krishna says. Drop all other occupations. Just take one occupation and directly engage in the service of Krishna. Drop everything else. That is what Krishna is saying. All your other dharmas, sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. This is God's greatest kindness. So when you surrender, you can say, okay, now I'm ready to do whatever you want. And the devotees will guide us. Okay, you do this now, you do that, you do this, you do that. All different kinds of service. And we say, yes, sir, yes, sir. Whatever you tell, I'm surrendered. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. And the person guiding us also should be pure devotee, so that we are doing everything properly. So there is no, then if you are surrendered, like right, if an army surrenders, somebody surrenders, then they are under the control. But here it is voluntarily controlled. So whatever they want us to do, we will do. There is no independence of one's own thing. Like Prabhupada says, in military discipline, whatever the commander says, the soldiers will carry out the order. There is no question of whether should I do it, should I not do it. So like that, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. This is God's greatest kindness. Even though, like we see all these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they say, okay, now this year in Delhi there is no temple, go and start temple. So they all start temple there. Go to Pakistan, Brahmananda went to Pakistan. So like that. Completely obedient. Even though he is always fulfilling our desires, he always allows us to fulfill his desires in transcendent loving service. Of course, God is Atmaram, self-satisfied, and in no way does he need our service. But out of his causeless mercy, he allows us to render service to him. And through the medium of the bona fide spiritual master, he accepts our so-called service. So through the devotees, he accepts our service. Actually, in this age, the meditation on God in the heart, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, is practically impossible. Our duration of life is too short and living conditions troubled. So this kind of yoga where one can see the Lord in the heart is very impossible to perform. Even Arjuna, who was superior in all spiritual and material attributes, who lived at a time much more conducive to spiritual realization than our own, rejected this system of yoga. So you can't go to Himalayas and practice all this Ashtanga yoga. This system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind. And Krishna replied, of all the yogis, he always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in all transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga, and is highest of all. Yogi Namapi Sarvesham. Thus, the best way to realize Paramatma, especially in this age, is to realize Bhagavan, the highest realization of Godhead, which automatically includes all other realizations. Bhagavan Krishna in his original form is our dearmost friend. And what is the process for attaining Bhagavan realization? It is simply to render service to his pure devotee and to chant his name. This is the process recommended by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And the pure devotee engages in Krishna's service, right? Then Shri Vigraha Radhana Nityanana Shringaratan Mandir Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktam Shaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charan. In different services. So Krishna says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So it is up to us. We can do as we like. Krishna never interferes. Yet whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am a friend to him. Now what do you want to do? Okay, so that is the article in Back to Godhead. Which year was that? It doesn't say. Krishna, our dearmost friend. Okay, so we can stop with this book here.
This is 1970.
1970. So at that time, how much realization all the devotees had. The movement started in 66, right? 65, Prabhupada came. In 5 years, they had all these realizations. There were not like Veda base or many books or anything like that. But maybe first, second canto were there. Bhagavad Gita was there, and some other books were there. Now we have a whole everything. We can search in the Veda base and so many other books of other acharyas. Okay. But they got all this realization by service to Srila Prabhupada and hearing from him, of course. Okay, I wanted to play this video a little bit. We can hear. I was hearing, I didn't hear fully, but some part is nice. Everything is nice only, but 1 minute, let me see. This is by Amrendra Prabhu. It's in Hindi, but that's the only problem. So somebody must